Ranger Suarez is probably the best pitcher alive. We're going to talk about Wyatt Langford, Jackson Chourio, and Colt Keith struggles early on. Also, Heston Kjerstad and Matt Mervis were just promoted. Bryan Woo threw an excellent rehab start for the Seattle Mariners. And we're going to end with Shohei Ohtani's dominance as a hitter. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Just Baseball Show. It is Wednesday, April 24th. That's Arm Layton, and I am Peter Apple, and we are brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Remember, all you got to do, download BetMGM on iOS or Android. You're going to use code JustBaseball when you do. Why? You're going to get a first bet offer back of bonus bets up to $1,500 when you use that code. They also have a couple of boost tokens that they have been pushing forward, whether it be on parlays, some home run stuff, tons of promos here on BetMGM. Remember, gamble responsibly, must be 21 or older. And if you do have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, must be 21 or older, and terms and conditions apply. Aram, we have a lot to talk about, but I really want to address the elephant in the room. Do you wear eyeliner?
Damn it. Yeah. So this has been, I don't know. I don't know if this is like because our social reach has grown a little bit more, and like the more people that you pool, the more, yeah, I guess just by science, right? Or I guess by statistics, I should say, not science. Larger pool, more idiots, I guess. Well, first of all, if I was wearing eyeliner, who cares? But second of all, I'm not. And the reason why it gets me is I've been dealing with this since I was 6 years old. Like my mom tells me, like when I was a kid, I used to tell her I wanted to cut my eyelashes off because I was so annoyed of like every time we were checking out at a market or whatever, to be like, oh my gosh, look at your eyelashes. I would kill for those. Like women would always be like, why did a guy get it? Blah, blah, blah. I thought it would kind of go away as I got older, and it kind of did. You know, like when I met you in college, you probably had like a thought of like, oh, his eyelashes are pretty long, but like you're not going to be like, yo, like, are you wearing eyeliner? Like,
Okay,
you just don't care.
here's why it's so funny. Not once in my entire life of knowing you, I met you freshman year, and I've known you ever since. So freshman year, we started 2016. It is now 2024. I've known you for years. Not once have I ever thought of eyeliner at all. Not
Okay,
once.
so why is it coming up so much? And also, it's been like the last 2 weeks, and it's always like when I'm enjoying my evening, it just pops up, and I'm just like, oh. And there's no winning for me because I either say, no, I'm not. No, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? I just sound stupid, so I just don't reply. But I haven't replied for a long time. We keep getting the comments, and I saw now because you're crushing it on Instagram, our IG reels are starting to do well, and someone responded on IG with like, yo, is this dude wearing eyeliner? It got 85 fucking likes, dude. 85. Like I don't know. That's 85 endorsements. It's one thing for one person to say something. That's 85 people saying, yo, yeah, like what's good with that? I'll just set the record straight. I don't know why my eyelashes are so long. And probably the way that the camera's set up, it even more so looks like it. We get it on YouTube all the time too. I don't, but if Maybelline wants to sponsor something, I'll start wearing it. I'm a corporate guy here.
I have an idea. Upcoming episodes, we're doing MLB mock draft. The MLB draft is right around the corner. For that episode, full face of makeup. Full face. Like, don't even just put eyeliner on. Do the full foundation, eyeshadow, go full glam. Thoughts on that?
Like Kiss. I'll just basically be Kiss.
No, no, dress like Beyonce, like a full ass, full face of makeup. I think it'd be
I
electric.
mean,
And
that's
then,
what people think.
and
That's what
then,
they already think I'm doing. Could you imagine? Like, I'm legitimately, wait, yo, Peter, I can't record for 10 minutes. Let me apply my makeup. I'm doing every episode, rotating the same three hoodies with my hair is such a mess that I wear a hat every single time. And my room is a mess behind me. But no, no, no. I got to put that eyeliner on before I talk about baseball. Like, sorry. Anyway,
it would be pretty cool if we had like a Just Baseball branded eyeliner line. Look how good it looks on our co-host. Look how good it looks on you.
I think people might just not believe me. So at that point, then maybe I have to lean into it. But thank you for allowing me to set the record straight here. I unfortunately there's no all natural, I guess would be the answer. I'm all natural.
So for all those watching on YouTube, first, hit that subscribe button. Second, definitely do not make any more comments about Aram's eyeliner. Don't. because it makes the both of us really
Mm-hmm.
upset.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it, okay? Please stop. All right, let's talk baseball. So we have our list of topics. We have plenty to get to, but I wanted to headline the show with Ranger Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
He is an absolute dog, and he's really becoming one of my favorite pitchers to watch in all of Major League Baseball. Right now, he's got a 1.36 ERA, 5 walks, 32 strikeouts in 33 innings. And on top of it all, the expected numbers all look great. He's got a 1.89 expected ERA. But the reason I'm bringing him up, 25 consecutive scoreless innings, the longest streak by a Phillies pitcher since Cliff Lee threw 30 and two-thirds scoreless innings in 2011. Now, just on the Phillies side, that was their 7th consecutive win, moving them to 15-8, only the 3rd time that's happened since 1995. So I found an article by Todd Zalecki, who covers the Phillies for MLB.com. He does a really great job. And he has 2 quotes in this article that I really think highlight why Ranger Suarez is not only doing so well, but is so damn fun to watch. And I quote from Ranger himself: "I've never had a really good fastball. So today I felt how I've always felt." Remember, this is post his great outing again against the Reds. He said, "As always, I tried to mix my pitches, especially my changeup and curveball. I don't throw hard, so those are the things I have to do to get outs." And that's exactly what he does. He's not a high velocity guy in the age of you turn on the TV and Mason Miller freaks everybody out with 103. He averages 91 and 93 miles an hour on his sinker and his fastball. In 3 straight starts, he has an average exit velocity below 80 miles an hour. Now, that might not seem like a jarring number if you aren't familiar with exit velocity. Edwin Diaz average exit velocity is 80 miles an hour. When you look at average exit velocity leaders, he's at the very top. And it's all relievers in there. The next closest starter that even comes close, Ronel Blanco, only pitcher, 84.5 miles an hour. The last quote that I want to tell you about, which is why, again, I love watching him so much. "Every time Rangers out there, we're pretty locked in." And I quote from third baseman Alec Boehm: "He's got a good pace. He's in the zone all the time. Guys are putting the ball in play, and they're usually ground balls. Every time he's got the ball, we're ready for some work for sure." It's consistent. The guys are always on their toes. No wonder the defense has been so good behind them. They know they're going to get a weak ground ball right to them. It's just a matter of, is it going to go to the second baseman? Is it going to go to the third baseman? Is it going to be a weak pop-up to center field? Among left-handed pitchers, number 1 in ERA, number 1 in FWAR.
I
Ranger
mean,
Suarez is on one of these runs that you just have to tune in to watch every 5th day.
and I mean, he's been doing it. Like when he's healthy, he's just been as consistent as they come. You set the stage perfectly. The way that he can kind of do it is like it's a kitchen sink approach, right? Like you're getting a sinker, a curveball, a fastball, a changeup, a slider, and even a splitter occasionally as well. I love the point about keeping like the defense locked in, especially the Phillies defense. Just being able to being a guy though like Ranger Suarez that doesn't have the best defense in the world behind him, but can confidently pitch to contact is huge. He gets a ground ball rate at 61%, which is absolutely absurd. You mentioned the soft contact, like this is interesting because you have a 27% strikeout rate, which is great. He doesn't give up any free passes. So he's fine scattering, a few hits here and there. He had a complete game, I think, where he gave up 7 hits. But he knows that when he needs to get the strikeout, he can. The stuff is good enough. But he also knows that if there's a runner on first, 1 out, he's always 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning. And that seems to be one, why he can continue to churn out quality starts. But 2, go deep into ball games. And 3, we're in a game now where, there's a lot of walks, a lot of strikeouts. I can imagine that has an effect on keeping the defense locked in. But also we've been talking about the velocity thing and, how it feels like the way to get everybody out is to blow it by them. And of course, there's so much data that backs up throwing it harder, of course, makes it a lot easier to get guys out. But it makes it even more refreshing as we're going through this whole thing in Major League Baseball that you have a guy in Ranger Suarez who is averaging 90 to 92, maybe grabbing a couple 3s and 4s occasionally on the fastball and still dominating as well as anybody in the game. It shows that it can be done. You don't have to throw 98. It's a lot easier to get outs and you can dominate a little bit more. But Ranger Suarez is showing us why there's more than one way to be a really good starting pitcher.
And we're just talking about him on the mound. We aren't even talking about the defense or the way he holds runners as well. A PFP back to Ranger Suarez is elite. All he doesn't look like he gives a shit at all. When he right against the Reds, he caught that line drive against him. Looked like it was, a son playing catch with his dad in their backyard. Like just the easiest little catch right there. He's one of the greatest fielders I've ever seen on the mound. And then on top of it, he's holding runners. He looks like an athlete out there. It's so much fun. The game is so efficient. There's no walks in there. When he's on, it looks like 80 grade command. Now, when he's off, this stuff isn't elite, so he can get hit. That's why when you look at Ranger Suarez through the months, last year especially, it was a 1 ERA in 1 month, a 7 ERA in the next, then a 2 ERA, then a 6. If he has his command, he's as unhittable and as effective as any pitcher in Major League Baseball. Can he maintain his command over an entire season, raising himself into that echelon of some of the best lefties in baseball? That's the question that we need answered, because last year he didn't do it. But in 2021, this was a guy who put up a 1.36 ERA in 106 innings. So he can do it over a prolonged stretch. It's just, can he be consistent with it? But regardless, right now, as we sit here today, he is on one right now. And when Ranger Suarez is on one, he's as good as any lefty in baseball, especially considering when we talk about stuff, who are the other great lefties? Shane McClanahan, Tarek Skubal, Cole Reagans. There's plenty more. What do they all have in common? They throw gas. They throw 100 and they have all these different splitters and sliders and changeups. Not Ranger. Commands 5 pitches, kitchen sink approach. In the age of velocity, dominating without it.
So the other thing, the last thing I'll mention too, is like, sometimes people are like, oh, well, those guys do well in the regular season. How do they do in the postseason? And I don't know what the cumulative postseason numbers are, but I have a lot of starts off the top of my head that I can think of where Ranger was fantastic in big games for the Phillies when they really needed it. I think even in the World Series in 22, put together 5 scoreless. So, I mean, this is a guy that it translates on the big stage too. And, I think if you're a Phillies fan and if you're the Phillies, you got your 1-2 punch with Wheeler and Nola. But I feel very confident with Suarez getting the ball in the third game of a postseason series, any day. And I feel like the numbers would probably back that up. I don't have them in front of me, but I'd imagine they do. I also, while we're talking about the Phillies, I did want to mention Spencer Turnbull has been awesome, and they're going to move him to the bullpen. Did you and Jack talk about that yet?
No, I didn't even know that until right now when you said it.
So I think a day ago, Rob Thompson said it was implied that Turnbull would likely move to the bullpen after he starts Wednesday.
Oh, I know why.
Because
Taijuan Walker's going to returning. Yeah, that's stupid though. Spencer Turnbull has been much better than Taijuan Walker, but they're paying Walker all this money. It's probably why they're going to put him in the rotation. Just to quantify what you were saying about Ranger Suarez in the playoffs, 1.62 ERA
Holy shit, that's way better.
In 33 innings of work. In the NLDS, 1.50. In the NLCS, 2.30. In the World Series, 0.00 ERA. And that's not just, that is in 5 2/3, but in his lone World Series start, 5 2/3, 4 hits, no 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. So when the lights are brighter, he's even better.
Yeah.
He's the
Holy crap. That's even better than I thought. I was just remembering, like, every time I can remember a start from Ranger in the playoffs, it was great. Well, that backs it up. What hasn't been great has been Taijuan Walker in AAA in his rehab assignments. I know it's rehab, but like 11 innings so far. And, now he's going to make this start. 11 innings. He has just 2 strikeouts, 6 walks. His fastball, his last time out, he went through 102 pitches. So it's nice to see him stretched out. But his fastball averaged 89 miles an hour. So you're going to move Turnbull to the bullpen when he's been awesome, absolutely dominated last time out too, in favor for what? Like, how long do they, like, how many opportunities is Walker going to get? Like, if he comes out and just gets shellacked, like, how many opportunities does he get before he gets moved to like kind of that long relief role and Turnbull goes back to the rotation? Because I mean, really, Turnbull, his worst start this year was 4 innings of 3-run ball. Otherwise, he's been a walking quality start, and he's coming off of 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. I know it was the White Sox, but he's done it against good lineups too. I get why they have to do it, but it's also pretty weird at the same time, considering how good Turnbull has been.
So I can speculate to answer your question because I don't truly know. But I can also give you my opinion. Taijuan Walker ain't getting this rotation with how well Spencer Turnbull is pitching. Taijuan Walker ain't coming in this rotation with how well Christopher Sanchez has been looking, and you ain't touching shit in the top three between Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger. In my opinion, there's no room for him, and I would put him in the bullpen. Now, what do I think Rob Thompson and the Phillies and their front office is going to do? Well, we're paying Taijuan Walker $70 million over 4 years. Remember when we signed that contract and he hasn't done much for us? Yeah, we're still paying him, so we still need starter innings out of him. What is the leash? I don't know. But the fact that they're putting him in right now kind of tells me that that's their plan no matter what. So I think things would have to go horribly wrong for Taijuan Walker for them to move him out of the rotation. Don't you agree?
Yes, and I think they might. Unfortunately, I mean, and I hope they don't. Like, I'm rooting for Walker, but like even last year, when he was frustrating, but at least gave them innings and like a low fours, low to mid fours, he was sitting 93 with the fastball. Again, we'll see how he builds back up, but if he's 90 to 91, and again in his last outing he was more 89, it's going to be really hard to succeed that way. He's going to be nibbling a lot, and that's why we saw him only strike out 2 batters in 11 AAA innings. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully he does well, but it's an unfair shake for Turnbull, but yeah, that's just kind of the business side of it, unfortunately.
It is the business side of it. Let's talk about a couple of rookies that are off to a little bit of slow starts, and we're going to talk about why they've gotten off to these slow starts and if anything is fixable and what we think they're going to look like at the end of the season. But I want to start with a YouTube comment because they tore us apart, just like they tore apart your eyeliner or your eyelashes, whatever the hell. From Rob Kern 9255 on YouTube. Why would someone panic over a baseball player? The definition of panic is a sudden episode of intense fear that triggers severe physical reactions when there is no real danger or apparent cause. Now, some people might make fun of Rob and say, well, no shit. That's the definition of panic. I actually think Rob's on the right track. And I think he just tore down all of sports talk in the history of sports talk.
Why are we here anyways?
We're right. He's right. Why panic when there's way worse stuff going on in the rest of the world? I think Rob's on the right track, but considering Rob is on the right track, what do we say about these rookies who are struggling so far?
Well, I do. So it's funny. That was a response to like panic because like that's just the word that we used on the thumbnail, which is so funny. Like, is it time to panic? It's a thumbnail. Like if you're breaking out Merriam and Webster because of a thumbnail, like
but he's right.
He dropped the dictionary and he dropped the mic. Yeah.
Think about it. Is Jackson Holliday giving you severe levels of anxiety? Like, no.
I didn't sleep last night. No,
well,
I haven't thought much about it, to be honest. Like I do, like I'm interested in why he's struggling, but it is, to extend Rob's point, rookies especially should not make you panic. You know, like if I'll tell you this though, if Mike Trout's 0 for 35 or whatever with 18 strikeouts, I am physiologically panicking because that's going to be really sad when he's already kind of slumping a little bit all of a sudden, but that'll make me really sad when a guy like that, goes down. When Aaron Judge smashed his toe into concrete, were you not panicking?
I was
by
100%.
Definition?
I was 100% panicking.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm panicking over Gleyber Torres' slow start because I'm a bipolar, emotional Yankee fan who needs to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
So
like, I get it. Rookies in general, like we rinse and repeat this so often. And, I think in the case of Chourio and Keith, I think was ready. But
yeah, here let's go player by player. Let's start with Wyatt Langford. Start with Wyatt Langford because again, he has been really struggling for the Texas Rangers ever since he got called up. We're looking at a 241, 312, 289 slug for a 601 OPS. And I also want to shout out an article on justbaseball.com written by Wes Jones, who covers the Astros and the Rangers for us and does a really, really good job. And he highlighted the fact that Wyatt Langford is struggling with his fastball. He also said that there might be too much contact, that the fact that he's not striking out or whiffing at all, just trying to make contact in general, is actually hurting him. And he also posed the question, should he get sent down? He also answered that question with no.
Yeah.
Both of us are on that same page with no. But what have you seen from Wyatt Langford so far? Because a lot of the highlights in the article are correct. He's not hitting fastballs. He's not slugging. He doesn't look like the Wyatt Langford that was hitting a home run every single day in spring training.
It's like the hitter equivalent of nibbling, like where when pitchers get up and they don't trust their stuff too much and they start nibbling. I think I'm seeing the same thing with Wyatt Langford, where you're trying to survive. You get into this kind of fight or flight mode, and he's been getting screwed on calls. And it's not just like confirmation bias. When you look at who's had the most out of zone pitches called strikes, and Wyatt Langford's among the top. And I think that doesn't help. But I do see a guy that's just trying to put the ball in play, doesn't want to whiff a ton, knows that he's fast, and could spray the ball to all fields. But the reason why Wyatt Langford's so good is that he gets his best swing off, and when he connects, I mean, it's 113, to any part of the field. I feel like you got to find that balance, right? Where it's okay, I have an advantage count, I'm going to let it eat, and then I have an even count, I'm going to still get a good swing off, and then if I'm behind, that's where I go into the contact side of things. I feel like he is not really taking his A+ swings. He's not really leveraging his hitters counts, and he's just kind of trying to put the ball in play and pick up hits and break this quote unquote slump, which I don't think is the best way to go about it, because he's putting the ball in play. He's not striking out that much. He's hitting 241. If he was slugging, yeah, he'd be fine. We wouldn't have this conversation. If a few more of those singles were extra base hits, it's probably the difference. But I agree. Like, if you even look at the batted ball data, I mean, the EVs are just not the same. He doesn't even really have these one-off exit velocities where he's running into them as much. And I don't think it's because he's getting blown up. He doesn't look like he's, uncomfortable. It doesn't look like he's taking bad swings at balls. The chase rate's still low. It just seems like he's gotten away from who he's been, who made, what he was at Florida, what he was through the minor leagues, what made him, a guy that broke camp with this team. Seems like he's kind of gotten away from that. And hopefully he can kind of get back to who he is soon, because I mean, he's a guy that mashes, and that's what they put him on the team to do.
Wes brought up a really, really good point. And it furthers our conversation about never really panic about a rookie. Generally, don't really panic about anything in sports because, like Rob said, there's bigger things that we have to worry about. And the term panic means you're getting intense fear and anxiety. So I understand. And then also, last season, Gunnar Henderson, through his first 21 games, hit 194, 357, 328, and then went on to have hit 28 home runs, score 100 more runs from that point, drive in 82 more, OPS of 814, and ended up winning the Rookie of the Year. And then now this year, he looks like one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball. So when guys come up, maybe it doesn't look awesome right out of the gate, give the man a second.
Yeah.
I love that term. Number two, I want to talk about Colt Keith, though, because Colt Keith has looked far worse than Wyatt Langford. And Colt Keith was the guy who we were really excited about. 22-year-old guy out of high school that the Tigers drafted in the 5th round and just worked his way up the minor leagues by hitting at every single stop. And the Tigers thought, all right, this guy just won't stop hitting. We got to put him in the major leagues. The problem is he hasn't hit really anything yet, right? He doesn't have a home run, slashing 173, 235, 187 slug for this guy. It's basically all singles so far. He only has one extra base hit on the entire season. He's hitting below 200 against both fastballs, breaking balls, which are more curveballs, sliders, stuff that break, and off-speed pitches like changeups. He's not hitting anything right now. What have you seen from a guy that you've been high on for years now?
Yeah, I mean, I love him. I still do. I will say the one surprise has been more than anything is that he's actually playing pretty good defense at second base, which is bizarre. Like, I think that no one really expected the defense to be really anything passable. I think it was always kind of expected to be slightly below average. So that's been nice. Honestly, I do feel like it's a little bit of bad batted ball luck and a little bit of just getting adjusted. Where this place that he has to call home, it can do some mind games to you. Like, I watched him hit a ball 400 feet to dead center. Not even dead center, like a little bit to right center against Simeon Woods Richardson. That would have been a home run in a lot of parks. Didn't get out. Then he hit another one 380 feet to right center. Didn't get out. Then he hit another one 384 feet to right center. Didn't get out. And those were all flyouts, by the way. None of those even fell for a hit. So, you get a couple of those falling for extra base hits or one or two home runs, and all of a sudden the stat line looks a lot different through 21 games. I don't see him getting like destroyed or dismantled or blown up either. I mean, the chase rates are palatable, the contact rates are good. It's just another guy that I feel like is trying to survive up there. And I get it because these pitchers are so good that, you just want to get bat to ball. But that's not how Colt Keith, got paid. He didn't get paid to be a contact hitter. He got paid to slug and do a little bit of everything. And he was one of the best in the extra base hit department last year among anybody in the minor leagues. Yes, he can hit for average too. But again, I see another guy that just looks a little bit timid, a little bit careful, and just doesn't want to get embarrassed out there, doesn't want to get blown up. And great, you're not. You're striking out less than 20% of the time, but you have one extra base hit. So, I just want to see a little bit more aggression. And I think that's been the limitation for Keith a little bit, is just another guy that's trying to survive rather than, being confident and accepting like, hey, and playing like a guy that should be feared, right? Like when he was first, put into the lineup, he's in the 5 spot, 6 spot, 5 spot still for the most part. Same with Langford. This guy's in the middle of the order. You want those guys to approach their at bats like they're middle of the order mashers. And right now they're approaching their at bats like they're, back of the order guys. And I get it. They're, especially Langford being on a team full of sluggers. You just don't want to be a detriment. And we're talking about how that's maybe affected Holiday. But with these guys, you got to let it eat. You got to, get your best swing off and try to do damage.
And I'm so glad you brought up the strikeout rate too, because this isn't a rookie striking out at a 35% rate like we see a lot of rookies do, right? They're just swinging and missing. They're getting beat up top. It looks like they're being overmatched. With Keith, I agree with you. It doesn't look like he's being overmatched. He's only striking out 19.8% of the time, which is a above average strikeout rate, which puts him in the 59th percentile of Major League Baseball. He's also walking at a 7.4% clip, which is totally fine as well when he's making contact in Comerica Park, where it's cold in the early parts of the season. We've seen the same with Torque. We've seen the same with Riley Green. We basically see the same thing with every Tigers prospect that comes up and hits, is that early on in an enormous ballpark against good pitching, when you're 22 years old, it's tough. Yeah. It's just generally tough, but this is the best hitting prospect in the Tigers organization. And moving forward, we think he's going to be a very good player. And I like how you highlighted the defense, 83rd percentile and outs above average. So if he's a fine defender, we know that the bat is going to play. And if you're a Tigers fan watching Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, and even Mark Canha and freaking Matt Vierling are pitching in, like, this is becoming a real lineup. Now, They still rank in the bottom 10 against right-handed pitching. That's been their, Achilles heel, but they did just score 5 runs off Zach Littell. Now, we're recording on Tuesday before the game starts, so who knows? Maybe they hit Ryan Pepiot as well. I hope not. I have Ray's first 5, so we'll see how that ends after the game. But the Tigers' offense has not been good, and they need Colt Keith to start kicking it in gear soon. He's not a guy that you'd send down, right?
No, especially not with getting paid now. And again, especially because the fact that he's not getting blown up and he looks relatively comfortable. I think from compared to other guys that are hitting below the Mendoza line. The last thing I'll say is really just kind of ties into the entire conversation, is he's not elevating. And again, this is a guy, and again, I think part of it is the way that Comerica kind of plays mind games on you, where, oh, well, I elevated and I hit it 400 feet and I still had to jog back to the dugout. He had a 34% ground ball rate last year. And that's why I love the profiles. He hits it hard, he hits it consistently, and he hits it to all fields and in the air. So far this year, it's a small sample, but a ground ball rate at 48%. That's just not who Colt Keith is. So he needs to kind of find a way to elevate a little bit more. I think lay off some of the stuff at the bottom of the zone. That's the other thing, is they've been wearing him out at the bottom of the zone. And I think he's going to need to pull the zone up a little bit and elevate, because that's how he made his living already. And they paid him because he was elevating consistently. And I think he'll get back to that. It's only been 81 plate appearances. I know it feels like longer than that, but it's not much.
100%. Let's move on to our third rookie. This guy's not off to a bad start by any means. I just wanted to bring him up because he is extremely talented. He's 20 years old and he's just fun to watch. But he is going through kind of a tough April. Started off really hot. That is Jackson Chourio of the Milwaukee Brewers. 417 in his first 12 ABs in March. But since April did start, he's slashing 190, 246, 381 to give him a 627 OPS. Overall this season, 680 OPS, hitting 227. Now, he's got 4 home runs. He's got 4 steals. He's playing incredible defense. This has not been a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I more wanted to do a check-in with you on one of the top prospects in baseball at 20 years old. More asking, what are some of the good qualities that you've seen so far that right when you were doing prospect write-ups that you thought would hit immediately? And then some other things where it's like, this doesn't seem like Jackson Chourio right now. You're just talking about Colt Keith's ground ball rate, Wyatt Langford slugging. That isn't them. There are good things that Chourio is doing 100%. He's not in the struggling rookie boat, but he is hitting a little bit of a lull right now. So I more just wanted to bring him up. Brewers have also been super hot. They've been a great story, and they paid this guy a ton of money for a very long time early on, knowing how good of a player that he is. So what are some of the good things that you've seen from Jackson Chourio so far? And then a couple of this doesn't look like him.
Yeah, the defense has kind of been better than I was expecting. His reads are kind of shaky, and he's gotten better and better and more comfortable, and he's turning into a really nice defender in the corner, which we knew he could always be. It was kind of the Acuna thing where it just didn't, you're like wondering why he's not a better defender with his speed, with his arm and everything. And now he looks like he's settling in and right. Chourio is the one of the three that we've talked about so far that I think is going kind of exactly how I expected it. And that's actually a good thing because, usually it goes a little bit worse than you'd expect. He's super aggressive. You knew that was going to happen. He cut down on the chase a little bit as the year progressed last year, but even, the Brewers hitting coordinator, Brenton Del Chiaro, came on the call up and he was talking about how being named the number 1 prospect in baseball before Holiday was, and all of the fanfare and whatever, he felt like he had to prove them right, and so he was very aggressive. And it's probably some of the similar thing now too, right? Getting paid all this money, long-term contract, get up to the big leagues. You want to prove them right, and I think it's been a lot of that same thing where he was trending really well at the back half of last year, cutting down the chase. Then you get back now to this year where he's chasing at a higher clip. I think what we've been able to see is that, he can hang in there. He's hit fastballs, in the past pretty well. So far this year, it's been more of they're going to spin the crap out of you. And then I think the fastballs are getting on him quicker. I just see a guy that's been aggressive, a little too aggressive, and a guy that, I think looks young up there, and pitchers are exploiting that. I mean, over his last 50 at bats, 33% of the pitches he's seen have been sliders. So they're just spinning and spinning and spinning. And he's been chasing those at a 36% clip. So it's just natural progression. But I think that's the one thing that's kind of stood out to me is they're spinning him a ton and he's struggling to lay off of it still. But I think we've also still seen, 1, how athletic he is, 2, how he can hit the ball hard to all fields, 3, just the general talent and what he is ultimately going to bring to the table. And 4, the fact that even as he's learning, like he's in a learning process, he could very easily be in AAA. The reason why he's not is because they paid him. I think the fact that he's surviving up there and actually still providing some value and giving them some good games is a testament to just how talented he is, because he's doing that while actively learning at the same time.
He's been so fun to watch. He hasn't been, incredibly productive, but he's kind of one of those players where he does something, I wouldn't say amazing, but he does something that makes your eyebrows raise what seems like kind of every game you watch him, whether he's in right field and what you think might be a diving player, the ball might drop, he gets there. Maybe on a sac fly, he'll throw in, a ball that looks like an 80 grade arm from the outfield, or he'll steal a base with ease, or he'll have a high exit velo one day. Maybe it's caught, but you can just see the talent oozing from his pores, whether or not the production has been there so far. So he's a guy that you want to turn on the TV to kind of watch it grow. He's going to grow into like a beautiful flower, as cliche as that sounds.
No, for sure.
But it's like a little beautiful seed just sprouting a little bit. I think he has been one of the more exciting players to watch in that sort of context. So I more just wanted to talk about him, not grouping him in struggling, just wanted to talk about him.
Yeah. The last thing I'll just note is, and just to put a little bit more context to it is, fastball swing rate not just chase, but swing rate. Fastball swing rate, 39%. Slider swing rate, 56%.
Hmm.
So there's just a clear plan that's being executed against a young hitter. And this is really valuable, learning experience and feedback for him. And I think he's going to really hit his stride in the second half.
We have plenty more to talk about on the Just Baseball show. A couple of promotions. We're going to talk about Seattle pitching and end with Shohei Ohtani's dominance as a hitter. But before that, a quick break. The Orioles promote another top prospect, Heston Kjerstad. Welcome to Major League Baseball. Outfielder, first baseman. He was the number 2 overall pick in the 2020 draft, and he has been hitting the living shit out of the baseball. At AAA, he is hitting .349 with 10 bombs, 30 driven in, which is just unbelievable. Slugging percentage of .744, and to put 30 RBIs in perspective, he's played 21 games. He drives in a run every single day. And now Austin Hayes was just put on the IL with a calf strain. So I didn't see a corresponding move, them sending anybody down. I think they just put him on because Austin Hayes now went on the IL. So now they have another guy who just hits bombs every day and looks exactly like all of them.
I'm excited. Yeah, he does look exactly like all of them too. I mean, he's got to feel as confident as anybody could feel getting up to the big league level. The contact rates have been as good as ever. The chase rates are still slightly high, but he's cut them down. And also, like, a guy like that's going to be aggressive when, everything that is coming his way, he's hitting hard and doing damage on. 10 home runs in 21 games is crazy. And the ability to drive the ball to all fields is what really stands out. He's versatile. He can play corner outfield. He can play first base. Obviously, he's going to get up there and play corner outfield. The one thing I'm interested in is, like, how he handles some of the higher end velocity. But other than that, I mean, this is a guy that is just hitting everything. And to be able to just have that guy come right up when Hayes is down with an injury is it's just paradise. I mean, what they have going on right now in Baltimore is crazy. And we're not even considering the fact that Kobe Mayo, who had a couple home runs the other day, is also kind of waiting in the wings there. And so is Connor Norby and several other guys. But what's amazing with Kjerstad is he came out, I mean, it was the best hitter in professional baseball through the first week and a half, came down to earth, relatively speaking, but his coming down to earth has been a 923 OPS over his last 10 games while, keeping the strikeout rate in check. So this is a guy that can come up right now and help them right away. And I don't think they're going to lose too much. Got the taste of the big leagues last year, put some decent numbers up in that short stint. He's been great.
How are they going to put him in the lineup? He's a first baseman / outfielder. Let me go over what they have at those positions. Anthony Santander is in right. I don't think you're moving him. Cedric Mullins is one of 5 players with 5 home runs and 5 stolen bases. I don't think you're going to move him. And in left field, Colton Cowser is arguably the best outfielder in Major League Baseball. So he doesn't really have a spot in the outfield. Now let's move to first base. They got 2 of them. Ryan O'Hearn and Ryan Mountcastle. The Ryans. This platoon. They're hitting. What is he going to play? Is him and Jackson Holliday going to play second together? Like as a tandem? Is he going to pitch? He's not catching with Adley. Is he going to play third? No. Jordan Westbrook's there. Well, is he going to play short? No. Gunnar Henderson is there. I mean, I can keep going. Where the hell is he going to play?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I'm sure Orioles fans may have they've already put all the pieces together and how you can slide this thing around and make it work. I'd imagine but also you want Holiday in the lineup, while he's there. If he's not, if you're going to bench him, you might as well just send him to AAA.
But then if you bench Holiday, it's not like Kjerstad's going to go play. I guess
no. So they would have to move Westberg to second. I still don't even know how they would do that. I'd have to write it all out on a scorecard.
Gunnar play third, but there's still no position.
There's still no position. You can't really move it around. It's a headache. So I guess it would just be the occasional plug and play for either one of the corner outfield spots or one of the first base or DH spots. I just think it's interesting if he's coming up to, just be a reserve. Why?
Why?
I guess he's definitely their best option right now. But I don't know.
We define that though. What do you mean best option?
Like if you have somebody go down and you just want to bring up, you have to fill that one of the 26 spots.
Okay.
Who is the best guy to bring up in one of those 26 spots right now? It's Kjerstad. Even if he's not playing, it gives them the most ridiculous bench. I'm with you. Like I don't see where he fits in immediately. Maybe they're going to rotate it a little bit, give Mountcastle some days off since he struggled to stay healthy. But it is weird. I don't really know. And let us know in the YouTube comments, Orioles fans, kind of exactly where he fits in. But other than giving Mountcastle and O'Hearn some days off, and maybe Cowser as well, the annoying part is Cowser's also a lefty, so you can't even do a platoon thing out there. Santander's a switch hitter. I think maybe the occasional Santander day off maybe makes sense. Like I think they're just going to maybe rotate days off on some of these guys and get Kjerstad some run. But I do think it's hard to see more than a couple, 2 to 3 starts a week, just even based on the rotation like that.
Do you think I was thinking that Kjerstad may make a spot start, but then Cole Irvin throws 7 innings against the Royals? Then I was thinking, well, maybe he goes to the bullpen. I'm still a little bit nervous about Craig Kimbrell. And then Craig Kimbrell has been dominating for the Orioles so far. So you don't think there's any way he moves into the bullpen in like a 7th inning role just to put him in the lineup somehow?
Depending on how if Mike Baumann keeps struggling, maybe they go that route. Connor Norby would be the guy that could throw. He pitched a little bit at East Carolina.
Of course
maybe, yeah, that guy might be the only way he gets up there. That poor he's a second baseman who's playing left now just to try to get an opportunity and show some versatility. But no, it is interesting. I'm very excited just to see how they go about it because again, you're not just going to bring a guy up. Like at that point, why not just bring Stowers up? Because I know Stowers hasn't been performing as well over the last week or so, but if you know it's going to be a reserve role, left-handed hitter, why not just bring Stowers up? To me, they prefer Kjerstad because he might plug and play at first base a little bit too. So we'll see how they go about that. But I agree with you. Like it's really interesting to see how I don't envy that position to try to move and put these guys in the right spots and get everybody the right amount of playing time.
Well, all we can say is Orioles, you got another one of your clones that just hits all the time and plays really good baseball. You got another
one. Must be nice to not know where to fit in all of your good players.
Yeah, must
be
trouble
in paradise.
Yeah, screw you, Orioles. You're too damn good. All right. Another promotion. This time we're going to Chicago and we're looking at Matt Mervis, who was just promoted by the Chicago Cubs. Now, he's been in the majors before, and he did struggle in 27 games through Chicago when he first came up. He hit 167 with 32 strikeouts in 90 ABs. It wasn't ideal, but there's a reason that he has the nickname MASH Mervis. This guy in the minor leagues hits a home run what seems like every single day. Arm's very close with him, sends in his videos all the time. And all we can do here at Just Baseball is say, when the hell is Matt Mervis coming up? And we didn't look great because he didn't show out in his first cup of coffee in Major League Baseball. But what the hell do we know about rookies after listening to this podcast and literally every podcast we've ever produced that it's too early to tell with these guys? So, Aram, for Cubs fans, have you seen any changes that Matt Mervis has done? And if not, that's okay because he's been raking in the minor leagues anyway and just needs more run.
Yeah. No, he worked on his path. That was something he was telling me about in spring training, just trying to get his barrel to enter the zone earlier and stay through it longer. I think that he was getting busted inside a lot in his big league debut. And, he wanted to feel like he could turn around velocity and, he crushes breaking balls and anything that's left on the outer half, he can pull pitches on the outside corner out of over the right field wall. Like the power is crazy. But he's riding in on a nice streak too. Last 10 games, 5 home runs. I know for a fact he worked hard on that path and making it as efficient as possible, but also, giving him a larger room for error and having it be in the zone longer. And, we're seeing great results in cold weather right now in AAA. I'm interested to see what his role is like. And, I'm glad now, I think with Counsell there, the difference is going to be that, he's going to play more. I think with Ross, it was a little bit more of like the same guys putting out the same lineup. And there was a lot of times where I felt like Mervis didn't really get a chance to build any momentum because he hits the home run off of Javier and then it's back to the bench and then he doesn't play for 3 days. And then he gets back out there again, has a tough game, can't really bounce back the next day because he's on the bench for 2-3 more days and he's just ruminating. And, I feel like he's been chomping at the bit to get up there. He had a good spring training. He's been great in AAA and I'm rooting for him. I hope that those, adjustments help him and just having a taste of it last year helps him. But, again, another great instance though, where unfortunately you have to, I don't know what the other move was yet. I don't even know if the Cubs have made that official yet, but you need to call somebody up and you have a guy that is crushing baseballs in AAA ready to go. The Cubs are in a pretty good spot too.
So when we talked about Matt Mervis last year, we were pounding the table. Play Matt Mervis because your other first base tandem is Eric Hosmer and Trey Mancini. We're thinking to ourselves, what the hell are we doing still giving those guys at bats when we could see more from Mash Mervis? Now, Michael Busch plays first. And Michael Busch is 12th at WRC Plus in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's there, and then at DH, you have Garrett Cooper. And it's not like Garrett Cooper is this amazing hitter, but he is slashing 270, 341, 432. So he's no hole in the lineup. He has been a good hitter for the Chicago Cubs, and Garrett Cooper has been a good hitter now for the last half decade. So where is he going to play? Like, Morel's got third base, even though he hasn't been a great defender. I don't know if you move Michael Busch there, you put Morel more in a DH, then you put Mervis at first, and then you kind of rotate in Garrett Cooper whenever they need an off day. Is Mash Mervis the guy who we're relying for off days? We don't want that, though, because he needs to get going. And I don't think we have the answer, right? We didn't have the answer for Heston Kjerstad. It's just worth bringing up and worth it for the Cubs fans who are listening to let us know in the YouTube comments what they think is going to happen, because I'm not seeing a lane here.
I actually just saw the report.
So
Garrett Cooper got DFA'd. That's wild.
I take it back, everything I said about Garrett Cooper. No, I'm
I
kidding.
think he's a good hitter.
I stand by it. I stand by
that. He had vertigo
that.
last year, I think, or something. Like, he was playing through like some things that very easily alter your ability to hit. Has hit really well. Garrett Cooper is one of those guys. If you look at the numbers, you'll be like, wait, what? He's done that in his career? Like, he's been a fine hitter. He's been a pretty good hitter.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty wild. Look, I'm not watching every Cubs game, but
there's the lane. There's the lane.
Yeah, there you go, though. Like, because I'm with you. That wouldn't have made any sense. To me, that is a good vote of confidence, in Matt Mervis too, because it's like, and they haven't really given him that. And that's just coming from me. Like, the way that they've handled him, and I get it. He was an undrafted free agent and, came out of nowhere and had the year that he had, and then, had another year like that, and then ends up getting up to the big leagues. You don't want to put all of your stock in a guy like that, because of course you're going to have some skepticism. But this is, one of the first kind of, I feel like, votes of confidence that we've seen from them. And I think part of it is probably just wanting another left-handed bat. Their bench is entirely right-handed. And then you have Cooper, who's also right-handed. Other than, you also have switch hitting Ian Happ, but it's Bellinger, Busch, and Tauchman. Those are the only left-handed bats you have. So bringing in another left-handed bat into the fold now, there you go. You got the path. I think they prefer the platoon of Wisdom maybe, and, Wisdom / Canario / Mervis, and kind of make it matchup dependent. Canario crushes lefties, put him in that situation. Mervis shouldn't face any lefties. Then, Wisdom, if you think it's a better matchup than for Canario, then you put him in against that lefty too. Then, righties for the most part, those are at-bats that Mervis can take. On that same point, this sounds insane, but I think I figured out maybe one way that the Orioles could get Kjerstad in there. They don't want O'Hearn hitting at all against lefties. And I understand that Kjerstad's also lefty, but O'Hearn is historically like horrible left on left. And I don't think he's like played at all against lefties so far this year. They might just have Kjerstad be the better left on left option, or like, because they can move the lineup around otherwise. So that's their DH first base. So I guess that's the way. So welcome to the big leagues, buddy. You get left on left matchups. Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of so far. Mervis has a more favorable situation where I don't see any reason for him to face lefties, to be honest. And, not that he's incapable, but there just doesn't seem to be much of a reason. Although I do think he hits lefties pretty well. And then you can platoon that with Wisdom and Canario. That's pretty good. I think that could be a pretty fun platoon there.
I'm glad you brought up the splits argument, because to your point about the Cubs being very right-handed dominant, they are destroying left-handed pitching. They rank second in Major League Baseball, just behind the Guardians, with a 140 WRC plus against lefties. When you fix it and you say, all right, what have they been doing against right-handed pitching? They rank 17th in WRC plus, right below the Mets and the Giants with a 97. That's 3% below league average. So against lefties, they're 40% above the league average offense. Against righties, they're a below average offense. So to get a guy like Mervis who can hit right-handed pitching instead of a guy like Garrett Cooper, he's probably better against lefties. Then you have an entire bench that's better against lefties, bringing up those left-handed bats to help against righties, who you're going to see more of anyway, is going to be a big help.
Especially when has 5 bombs in his last 10 games. So
There you
like
go.
you're getting a hot hand there too. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense then. I mean, you want to balance things out a bit. There you go. I'm excited for him. I obviously we've been talking about him here for a while, and I'll be honest, I was surprised. I was not expecting him to get a chance this early based on the way that I just felt like he didn't really even get much consideration out of spring training. So to see him get an opportunity on April 23rd shows that those subtle adjustments that he's made with his swing, I think maybe the Cubs are buying into that a little bit too.
Another guy who we want to talk about just made a rehab start, and he's going to be huge when he comes back for the Mariners. Bryan Woo was rehabbing his elbow, and he just struck out 5 over 3 perfect innings in his first rehab start with AAA Tacoma on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the fastball velocity was a little bit down when I'm looking at the data right here, but hey, 3 perfect innings with 5 punchies, rehabbing looks good. And it's not like the fastball velo is down that much. It's 93.9, and it's his first rehab start, so it's going to be a little bit lower. But for him to look that effective this early, especially for a Mariners team where if you can't hit, at least add more pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting a good one back. We forget Bryan Woo can be dominant when he's on.
Oh, I mean, that's another guy that we were kind of pounding the pavement on in this show, and then he had the first start of his career against the Rangers, and I got clowned a little bit for that one because he got shellacked. But then after that point on, he was disgusting. I think Emerson Hancock surprised me last time out. Pitched really well at Coors, but it doesn't really matter. You still want to be careful with both of these guys. Hancock and Woo are both guys that you want to limit. They both had some ailments over the last year, and flare-ups and things like that. So both are going to be on a pretty significant innings limit. So just being able to have both available helps a ton. I'd imagine that they'll probably send Hancock back down, but if they want to skip Woo here and there in the rotation, then Hancock can come back up, or he could be in that bulk relief role. But Woo can be effective at 93, 94 because the fastball characteristics are so crazy. And clearly the command was there, as you mentioned, and he had everything working for him. We've done like kind of like the buy and sell concern, things like that. And I know like the Mariners are a team that, it's pretty easy to just be a little concerned about based on their offensive struggles. But how much does a healthy Bryan Woo change your perspective, Pete? Because like and I know Castillo is off to somewhat of a slow start. I'm not really worried about that. When you look at a rotation of Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, this version of Bryce Miller, and then Bryan Woo, like how much does that change your perspective maybe on this team? I know they got a hit, but do you feel a little bit better, a lot better? Like, do you think that could be something that helps turn things around for them?
I would say a little bit better because Bryan Woo is not going to help Ty France slug, right? But at the same time, when Bryan Woo, and the reason why we've been high on the Mariners now for a long time when they're fully healthy in this rotation is that when you have Bryan Woo and Bryce Miller facing the 4s and 5s in other teams' rotations, you are automatically going to have the advantage. Because Bryan Woo, when he's on, is one of those guys that can win you a game by himself. The same thing could be said about Bryce Miller. The same thing could be said about Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo and George Kirby when they are on. Now, what makes Bryan Woo lesser of those guys is that when he's off, it doesn't look good. And he's got a splits issue. So that's not what makes him one of the best pitchers in baseball, like those other guys. But Bryan Woo, when he's on, can still win you a lot of ball games, even when the offense doesn't show up. So the thing is with the Mariners and how they've been able to be in the high 80s and make the playoffs is even when they don't hit, they still win games because of how good the starting rotation is and the bullpen is. My problem with the Mariners this year and why I was a little bit lower on them is because I still saw the same offense. I saw the same starting pitching staff, and I see a worse bullpen than ever before. But getting back Bryan Woo then puts that rotation to peaks that it hasn't reached this season.
Yeah.
So that's why I say a little bit better. I'm not totally buying into the Mariners yet because they have to keep hitting. They have to add at the deadline, most likely, because the bottom of their lineup has been a bunch of holes and they've been a little bit banged up as well. I need the Mariners to hit. But Bryan Woo certainly helps because if you can't hit, at least prevent runs, and that's what Bryan Woo does.
And I agree with you on the bullpen coming into the year, and it's actually performed, I think, a little bit better than people would have expected.
Yeah.
And they get Brash back, hopefully at some point. They get Santos back. That bullpen can turn into a really solid one again. So the pitching, I think, that's a playoff staff overall,
Definitely.
assuming health. That's and a good one. Like that's a
I mean,
that's
that's the best staff in Major League Baseball.
yeah. I mean,
Right?
that's a staff that
I
can
mean,
compete for a World Series. It's up there. It's
yeah,
it's
it's up there.
definitely up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you make this offense better? And I'm kind of with you. Like I feel better about their chances to hang around and mitigate the poor offense, but they might need to be early and active on the trade market because at a certain point, you got to wonder if it's ever going to happen again for Ty France or if this is just who Ty France is. And then you look at what you're relying on in the outfield with the Jonathan Clase coming up pretty quickly, and maybe when he comes back, then you go back to Canzone, but like they need another established bat, and I wonder if they're going to try to pick that up a little bit earlier. What they do have working in their favor is that the division is just wide open. You have the Rangers leading the division at 12 and 11, and then everybody else, no one's behind them. They don't even need a rearview mirror. They only need to look ahead. They only need eyes on the road ahead. But at the same time, Rangers are going to only get stronger and stronger. It's going to be very difficult to win the division, and then you're going to have to try to grab a wild card. Or difficult. So I feel like for them, their best bet is to try to win that division. And if they're going to do that, I think they need to be aggressive. When they get Woo back and they get some of these relievers back, go get another bat. Spark the trade market a little early.
I agree with you. I think they should be active sooner rather than later. Now, for the last part of the podcast, I want to throw a take at you. And this take that I'm about to give you, people might think it might be something that people kind of skate on by, don't really pay a lot of attention to. But I think that we have to start pointing the best hitter in baseball. The best hitter in baseball is Shohei Ohtani. He's hitting 368, 431, 633 with a 1,094 OPS and a 199 WRC plus. That 199 WRC plus is second in Major League Baseball. And you might think, of course, he's Shohei Ohtani. But do we remember Bryce Harper when he first came back from Tommy John surgery? Didn't look good, right? This is Ohtani returning from Tommy John surgery, and he's second in Major League Baseball in WRC plus. Since 2023, number one in WRC plus. Number one. He's been the best hitter in Major League Baseball since the start of 2023. He leads the league in hits. Only 3 games this season where he didn't have a hit. And the average hit is 95 miles an hour. That's his average exit velocity. And average baseball off the bat of Shohei Ohtani is 95 miles an hour. His strikeout rate normally in the mid-20s, 18% this year. His 368 batting average doesn't do him justice. 370 expected batting average. 633 slug. It's amazing, right? One of the best in baseball. Doesn't do him justice. 701 expected slug. There are 5 players in Major League Baseball with 5 home runs and 5 steals. Shohei Ohtani, Cedric Mullins, Ellie De La Cruz, Mookie Betts, Mike Trout.
I was wondering why you knew that in the Mullins stat earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, why did you know that Mullins was one of like a few 5-5 guys so far? That makes sense, but that is absolutely insane.
Think about what Shohei Ohtani is. He has the same amount of power as Aaron Judge. He's fast as shit. He is one of the fastest players in the game. He has 5 steals already. When Harold Reynolds sat down on MLB Network, we were watching that show at your house in Florida. And Harold Reynolds asked Mookie and Freddie, who's going to lead this team in stolen bases. Mookie and Freddie both pointed at Ohtani. So he's probably going to hit 40 to 50 jacks. He's probably going to steal 20, 25, maybe 30 bases. I'm never going to put a cap on what Shohei Ohtani can be. While hitting 300, not striking out, walking a ton. Hits the ball as hard as anyone, has the best approach, and is playing with one elbow right now, and is the second best hitter in Major League Baseball, only to Mookie Betts. And the reason Mookie Betts' WRC plus is 206 compared to 199 for Ohtani is because Mookie Betts walks so much, which is graded very highly. But if we're looking at batting average or slugging or just overall contact, Shohei Ohtani's the better hitter. Now, when you bring in best hitters in baseball in the conversation, there's Jordan, there's Judge, there's Soto, there's Acuna, there's plenty of hitters. He was number 1 in WRC plus last year, and now has a 199 WRC plus. Looks like a better hitter with one elbow. Is it fair to call Shohei Ohtani the best hitter in Major League Baseball?
Assuming that he continues anywhere near this, like absolutely. I mean, he did it last year.
Don't you think he's going to get better? as his elbow gets better.
He
Like,
might.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
he's
how
gonna
you
get
can get much
worse.
better than this. I don't know how it's humanly possible.
Exactly. He is a guy who we just have never seen before.
So yeah, I mean, anything is like believable. You know how I like to look at, especially with prospects, the two intersection, I like an XY axis is like 90th percentile exit velocity. So the top 10% of exit velocities of your batted balls, and then contact rate, right? Like how hard are you hitting the ball? How often are you hitting the ball? Uh, there's two hitters in Major League Baseball at the Major League side that have a contact rate above 75% and a 90th percentile exit velocity over 110 so far this year. It's Shohei Ohtani and it's Juan Soto. So I think, Juan Soto is right there. But I mean, what Ohtani's doing from an average perspective, the fact that Ohtani, like, I feel like the one aspect that is going to get going a little bit more soon is the game power. Like I think we're going to start to see him go as he starts to trust. I think he trusts it already, but just even more so, like cutting loose. We saw Harper when he came back and started to play well. He wasn't violently swinging as much, but it made him almost a more complete hitter. He started driving the ball the other way. He started, taking more controlled swings. I wonder when Ohtani starts to really feel like himself. Maybe he does already, but as the season progresses, I know he's going to go on this like crazy home run tear too. And the batting average ain't going to go anywhere. Obviously, it might not be 360 at the end of the year, but I think he's going to hit 300 again because of how hard he hits the ball and how consistently he's doing it. If he goes on a torrid home run streak, I mean, at this point, this guy might win the MVP, not even pitching and just being a DH. Which I mean, he'd have to really go nuts, but he's doing it.
I'm going to give you a slash line that I want you to say you think he's going to be better or worse than.
Okay.
325, 400, 620 with 45 home runs and 25 steals.
325. What was the OBP and slug?
400, 620 with
Better.
45 home runs and 25 steals.
45 home runs is the one thing I'm hoping he gets there. I think the home runs might be a little bit less. The batting average might be higher, like than we've seen in the past. But I would generally take the over on that. Yes.
Who else can you say that about?
Yeah, that's the MVP.
I mean, I'm trying to put that in perspective here. And the reason I said I don't know what people will think about this take, because it's like we're talking about Shohei Ohtani so much and everybody knows that he's so great and it's this two-way thing. But nobody's saying he's like the best pitcher or the best hitter in baseball. They're just talking about how amazing that he can do both. In a year where he can't pitch, he's the best hitter in baseball.
I mean, he's just getting better and better.
He's getting better and better. With one elbow, I can't get over that. He's rehabbing from Tommy John. I just saw Bryce Harper, who has been one of the best hitters of the last decade, struggle, have almost no power, and Phillies fans are wondering what's going on. Ohtani is the best hitter in baseball with one elbow. What is he going to do when he's healthy? What is he going to do when he's pitching again? I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's great. So 29.6% strikeout rate in 21, 24.2% strikeout rate in 22, 23.9% strikeout rate in 23, albeit also with a 5% jump in his walk rate. And then so far this year, an 18% strikeout rate. This guy just continues to become a better hitter, like just a more polished hitter, which is absurd because he doesn't need to do that. Like he could just lean into the power, be a 30% K guy, offset it with walks, and he's still one of the best hitters in the game. But this guy continues to turn himself into a complete hitter. And doing this now at 29 years old, and I think being able to focus and not be pitching and just focus on hitting solely and really hone in on that is what's making him just the most well-rounded hitter in the game right now. And that's what he was last year, even without just focusing on pitching and now or without just focusing on hitting. And now he's doing it even more so. It's must-see TV every time he's in the batter's box.
Must-see TV. If you needed another reason to go turn on a Dodgers game and go watch Shohei Ohtani, you just found it. And that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Make sure to get your Just Baseball merch. I'm obviously rocking the rope hat. Arm's rocking the t-shirt. And Jack isn't on this show, so he can't ruin the company by not wearing any merch. Don't be like Jack. Get yours in the episode description. We have tons of new merch. It's all stocked, ready to roll on our merch store, which you can find in the episode description. Also, support our partners, whether that be Game Time, if you're going out to a game, remember to use code JustBaseball. Outlier, you need some more data, we got you. Outlier 7-day free trial in the episode description. And then, of course, it's all brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Code JustBaseball $1,500 back in bonus bets if you lose. That first bet offer is available if you go check out everything in our episode description. For Arm Layton, I'm Peter Apple. We'll be back on Thursday, obviously, and on Friday, and every 5 days, every week for the rest of the Major League season. If you could rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts 5 stars, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, why the hell not? Arm Layton, I'm Peter Apple. And with that, thank you, everybody.